It's weird to watch the media party comment on democratic machinery, the processes of elections and democracy, because the media itself is not democratic. They can't be fired by readers or TV viewers. They often have bizarre opinions that are on the fringe of public opinion, but because of their elite status in life, they pretend, and I think they actually believe, that they are the normal ones and that the mere people, the lowly voters, are the weird ones. I mean, just to pick one example, the media party is almost unanimously sympathetic to Omar Khadr, the terrorist murderer. But the general public is overwhelmingly opposed to him, and especially to releasing that killer. My point is, the media party would be voted out of office in a heartbeat if they were subject to democracy, but they aren't, and they know it, and they love it. Now, that's fine. I don't believe in voting for journalists. I'm just pointing out that opinion elites often dislike the results of normal people's choices because they don't think normal people are sophisticated enough. In other words, they look down on normal people and actually on elections themselves. That's why so often they prefer that huge societal decisions be made by other ruling elites in their same upper class: judges, special panels of blue ribbon citizens, Order of Canada members, people like that. These elites would rather have great decisions voted on by 9 Supreme Court judges than voted on by millions of real Canadians. It's elites sticking together against the people. I'm just putting that out there because it's useful to keep that in mind when we watch the media attack the Fair Elections Act, especially the massively popular idea that law contains of cracking down on voter fraud. Bizarrely, the media party wants it to be legal in Canada to vote without any ID whatsoever. I think it's just crazy. I mean, it's tough for the media party to say they're for democracy when what they really want is for an electoral system to rubber stamp their own views. They want their own finely crafted editorials to carry sway, not, say, the grubby letters to the editor section of the newspaper. But really, it's all a game. The reason the media party's belief in democracy is as weak as their belief in free speech. They really only want it when it suits them. They want freedom of speech for their ideas, not for ideas they find uncomfortable, from criticism of radical Islam to criticisms of radical environmentalism, all of which is an introduction to my topic today: how parties choose their own candidates for Parliament. Take Calgary Signal Hill, the riding that Rob Anders has held as MP for the past 17 years. Anders was a popular MP. He got more than 60% in the last election, but he was universally despised on Parliament Hill. He was too right-wing. He didn't play the Ottawa game. He was blunt. He didn't defer to elite opinion. They absolutely hated him. Time and time again, he was challenged in party nominations, but he kept winning until last week, when he was finally defeated by a challenger, Ron Liepert. Now, I have my beefs with Liepert. He's a red Tory who served under Alison Redford's dysfunctional government in Alberta, and he's already importing all sorts of bad behavior from Redford's party into the federal Conservatives. But that's not my point today. My point today is that under Stephen Harper, the Conservative Party has an open enough and fair enough nomination process that a longtime MP who actually had Harper's own personal endorsement and that of Cabinet Minister Jason Kenney could be beaten fair and square. It's actually pretty incredible, isn't it? It's proof of democracy. Now compare that to the media party's darling, Justin Trudeau. In the riding of Trinity Spadina in Toronto, Trudeau has personally blackballed Christine Innes from running for the candidate there. And the excuse that Trudeau gave was that Innes's husband, former MP Tony Ianno, was campaigning roughly. Trudeau had promised open nominations. He's tried to position himself as holier than Harper when it comes to democracy. I mean, take a look at his party convention speech on the subject.
The only person Mr. Harper wants his caucus to serve is their leader. Well, that's not good enough. We need to be a party of community leaders, devoted to community service. That's why I'm calling for open nominations for all Liberal candidates in every single riding in the next election.
Lots of cheers there, and that promise got wall-to-wall media coverage, but the reality is blackballing candidates, in the case of Trinity Spadina, because of one woman's husband's alleged sins. Sexism much? So a man allegedly does something wrong politically, so party bosses ban his wife from even being allowed to run for a Liberal? Even Liberal hack George Stroumboulopoulos of the CBC couldn't pretend everything was fine here. Look.
You did say at the convention that you were into open ridings and open nominations, and then that's going away. Now you're telling people you can't run. So what happened?
What actually happens is that open nominations means it's local Liberals who choose who gets to be their representative. Not the leader, not the backroom guys in Ottawa, but local Liberals get to make a choice. But what that doesn't mean is someone can behave any which way and bully other people out of the nomination race and then be the last person standing. And that means making tough decisions about when people are not behaving in a way consistent with the kind of open service that we want to behave. Well, they don't get to be Liberal candidates.
But then you're telling people they don't get to be Liberal candidates.
If Rob Ford decided he wanted to run for the Liberal Party in 2015...
No threat of that happening, by the way.
Yeah, that's why I use it as an example. We'd say, no, sorry.
Look, even there, even as he tries to smooth things over, Trudeau is revealing that his own tastes, his own personal judgment of what is and isn't acceptable will rule. He mentioned the absurd idea of Rob Ford running for the Liberals, an absurd example, but doesn't Trudeau trust his own party members to vote no to someone like Rob Ford, who's not a Liberal? I mean, does he really have such low regard for the judgment of his own party members that he says he would step in if Ford announced his intention to run? He doesn't think that his local Liberals would say, he's giving away the game there. Of course, unlike Rob Ford, Christine Innes is a lifelong Liberal, which is why Trudeau would rather talk about Ford instead of talking about why he blackballed Christine Innes. This isn't the only riding in which Trudeau is tilting the playing field. Trudeau loves former General Andrew Leslie, the one who billed taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars to sell his house and buy another one and move just a few miles across the town. That Andrew Leslie. He has appointed Leslie as a policy advisor, but Leslie isn't a candidate yet. Another potential candidate named David Birchie wants to run for the Liberals in the same Ottawa riding. But Birchie isn't on Trudeau's favorites list. He had the audacity to run against Trudeau for the party leadership. And so guess what? Trudeau has changed the rules for Birchie in that Ottawa riding. Here's the new rule. You can't be a candidate, Birchie was told, unless he had completely paid off all his leadership campaign debts. Trudeau just made up that rule. Could you be more transparent? Look.
I am calling for open nominations for all Liberal candidates.
I'm sorry, I call BS on that. Look, Stephen Harper has open nominations. Rob Anders-Loss just proved that. Trudeau doesn't have open nominations. Now that's fine. It's completely fine for a leader to say, you know what? I have some superstar candidates in mind who are so important to our party's success and perhaps one day to our country's success, that I'm going to hand-pick them and appoint them. I'm going to override local democracy because I'm trying to build a star team and I need these candidates no matter what. That actually suits Trudeau's views on elites and experts. I mean, Trudeau always prefers elites to make decisions, not the grubby grassroots. That's why the media loves him so much. Here, listen to this little montage on elitism.
I'm going to defer to scientists. I respect science. I respect scientists with experts, talking to people from around the world, listening to evidence, listening to experts, trusting the judiciary.
He loves experts, he hates grassroots people. Now that is defensible. But Trudeau wants it both ways. He wants to say he loves democracy more than Harper does, except for when it doesn't suit him. Trudeau, for example, says he is opposed to the Fair Elections Act because it would do away with vouching, where even though Ontario and Quebec, both run by Liberals, by the way, have both done away with vouching because it leads to fraud. That's when one person vouches for someone else without ID. And Trudeau's own Liberal Party does not allow vouching in party votes. You cannot just show up, not be on a party list, have no ID, and some guy says, oh yeah, that's him, he's a Liberal member, I swear, and then get to vote. So Trudeau wants it both ways. He wants to be the boy prince, choosing who gets to be his MPs when it suits him, but he wants to bash Harper as the undemocratic one. He wants it both ways, and since the media party does too, they back Trudeau all the way. And they will until Election Day.